here. Welcome to Sew Learn Create. Glad you joined us today. And if you like our content, I have a Patreon page where you can support us with multiple tiers. And I also sell on my Etsy shop sewing kits for a lot of the content on our channel. Also, today I'm wearing an altered flannel shirt that I made. And if you would like to see a video on how I made it, then leave a comment below. I altered the front and the back. For today's project, we'll be making a recipe card holder. So let's get started. For today's project, the recipe card holder, you'll need the following supplies. You'll need 2 pieces of fabric. I made mine different on both sides, but you could do the same fabric. I'll link the pattern in the description below. You'll need a piece of ribbon, and you don't want it too wide because that makes your loop at the top, and you'll need 4 inches of ribbon. And then you'll need some basic sewing supplies. You'll need a clothespin, just a regular clothespin, and then you'll need some magnet. And I get mine at my big box store, and it comes in a package. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to secure our ribbon to one of our pieces of fabric for the body of our apron, and we want to base that in place just so when we put the apron together it doesn't slip on us and not get caught in the top. So I'm going to clip that here at the top, and I'm just making a loop. I just want to make sure that that is not twisted and that it lays nice and flat. There we go. And you want it about a little less than 1/2 inch in from the side, because then that gives you room to do your seam allowance and it not be caught all the way out at the edge. So let's go to the machine. Now we're going to baste our ribbon in place, and this just holds it so that when we stitch all the way around and create our apron, it doesn't slip on us. I am using a straight stitch, and I've set mine for about 2.5 or 2.5 on my machine. I like to start with my needle down, and I'm just going straight across. I did lined my fabric up with the inside of my foot to do just a slightly smaller seam allowance, so that when I do my full seam allowance, you won't see those basting stitches. Clip my threads here. Now we're going to put the body of our apron together. So I'm going to put my lining piece, and I'm going to put it right sides together, or pretty side to pretty side. And I'm going to clip it. And I'm going to leave an opening right down here at the bottom so I can turn my apron. And I'm going to use my red and green clip system to tell me where to stop and start. So I'm going to put my green clip here, where I'm going to start, go all the way around and stop at my red. And I like to clip all the way around. Some people don't, so do whatever you're comfortable with. The main thing is I want to feel where that ribbon is and make sure that it's way out away from my side seam allowances. And I got my green and my red backwards here. There we go. And you don't need a large opening because this is a small project. You just want to make sure that when you clip it to leave your opening, you come around these corners, and that'll make it shape nicer. So that's what you want to make sure you stitch enough to where you can come around the corner. So we're going to start right here at our green. And this time we're using the full width of our machine foot to give us a little wider seam allowance. And when I get to the corner, I'm going to leave my needle down. I'm going to lift my presser foot, rotate my fabric, and I want to make sure that it lines up nice and straight with that edge. And then when I come to this curve, I'm going to turn it slightly, and then I'm just going to ease around that curve, and I'm just going to go slow. And then when I get close to the top of that curve, I'm going to turn my fabric again and line it up straight. top, come to the edge, going to turn it to where I can do that curve nice and easy. Forgot to put my needle down. That's the reason you want it down, is so it doesn't shift on you. I'm going to come back to the bottom. I'm going to remove that clip because I can't turn if I don't. And I'm just going to put my finger reminding me to stop. And I'm going to back stitch just a little bit. Now we've sewn all the way around. We'll go back to the mat and turn it right side out. Now we've stitched all the way around, creating the body of our apron. And I like to flip mine over and make sure that I caught everything, because now's the time to go back and fix it if you didn't. And before we turn, we're going to clip our corners diagonally. And I'm not cutting close to that stitching, but I just want to make sure that I don't cut the stitching. I'm going to do that on the two bottom corners and the top here. And then where this curve is, I want that fabric to be able to ease so that curve comes out a little bit nicer. So I'm going to take some little tiny snips right here just along that curve. And if you notice, then when you turn that fabric, it'll allow it to ease, and it just makes a curved edge turn out a little bit nicer. I'm going to do that on both sides. And I'm clipping right at the edge, but I'm way far from my stitching. I don't want to clip too close to my stitching because then that can make it come out. So now we're ready to turn it right side out. And I'm going to use my chopstick to help get my corners nice and neat. That corner up there. And this is where, when we came around those corners to leave our opening, we can get that corner at the bottom edge nice and pointy, and it just makes the shape of the apron look a little nicer. Then I'm going to take my chopstick after I've turned it out, and I'm just going to run it along that seam, especially on those curves. And it just helps that seam kind of come to the top, and it creates that curve, looks a little nicer. All right, those out of our way. Then I'm going to iron it, and when I iron, I want to make sure that I get this opening, the edges turned in, so that when I top stitch, it'll look nice and finished. You just want to be careful with, if you've used a polyester ribbon, which most ribbon is polyester, that you don't iron. You can iron lightly on top of your ribbon, but if you hold it too long, it will melt it because it is polyester. So now we're going to go back to the machine, and we're going to top stitch all the way around to give it a finished edge. Now we're going to top stitch all the way around, and we're going to close up this opening that we have here at the bottom where we turned. And top stitching does two things. First of all, it closes an opening if you have that, but it also puts your two pieces of fabric together, top and bottom, and it just makes everything lay nice. So we're going to start here at the bottom, and I don't ever start in a corner. I always start just off the corner. And I want to make sure that I use a narrow seam allowance for top stitching. So I'm using the inside edge of my foot. And that gives me about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, which is a nice top stitch width. And I'm going to go all the way around. Same thing with this curve. I'm going to just turn it slightly and go a little slower and just ease it around so it gives me that nice smooth curved line. I'm going to come back to the bottom. Then when I turn, I'm going to go cross over this stitching just a little bit to lock it in place. And back stitch. Now our top stitching is done. We'll go back to the mat and finish. Now we've stitched all the way around and we're ready to create our recipe card holder part. So now is the time, if you wanted to decorate your apron a little bit more, now is the time to do it. You could add a button, or you could add ribbon across the bottom or something like that if you wanted to. You could certainly sew your button on, but I think today I'm just going to hot glue mine. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hot glue my button, and I'm going to put it right up here at the top, just to add a little bit more decoration to my apron. And I'm just going to push it in place. There we go. And then the next thing we do to create the clip to hold your recipe is you're going to turn it over and you're going to hot glue this clothespin in place. You just want to make sure that the bottom is close to the bottom, the opening is close to the bottom edge of the apron, so that when you attach your card, you can see your whole recipe when it's hanging on your refrigerator or whatever. So again, I'm just going to add my hot glue to my clothespin. And I'm just going to put it down the center, making sure that that open edge is close to the bottom. And then my magnet, I get in strips in a package, and there's about a 1/2 inch wide, and you can see that it's strip. It does have adhesive, and I'm going to peel that off, but I'm still going to use hot glue to attach it to the clothespin because I don't think this adhesive is strong enough to last very long. And you only need it's about 1/2 inch wide strips, and you only need about 1 inch in length. And you're just going to put it right here in the middle of your clothespin on the back. And then your project is complete. So when you hang it up on your refrigerator, it'll stick on the magnet, and you can open it and put your recipe card and have it nice and close when you're cooking. I hope you liked today's project, the recipe card holder. And remember, if you'd like to see a video on how I altered my flannel shirt, leave a comment below. So, see you in the next one.